cameras. This is the FeiyuTech Scorp, a 3-axis motorized gimbal stabilizer for cameras weighing up to about 2 kilos. Name seems to allude to scorpion. That's reinforced by the image on the handle. Now, it arrived in a handy carrying storage case, and this unit was sent to me by FeiyuTech, a Chinese company with an extensive lineup of gimbals. And the costs of return shipping mean that I will keep this unit, but FeiyuTech did not pay me, nor did they review the script or the video prior to posting. Now, this Scorp includes lots of small details that advance the art of gimbals, and in some test shooting with lighter and heavier cameras, it works as well, if not slightly better, than other gimbals I've tried. So let me start by observing that the bottom plate is not flat, and that makes sense when you rotate these two arms, or are they legs, out from either side, making for a built-in stand. Now the resemblance is a little more clear. And there is an included tripod, but I'll admit that even when a tripod is included with a gimbal, it's not always handy when I need to set it down. Now, you're probably wondering how it seems balanced without a camera. That's thanks to the tilt, pan, and roll locks on the arms. That's a smart touch. I like that. The Scorp's offset back arm stays out of the way of the camera's LCD screen, and there's a second grip underneath the back arm with an interesting control panel. More on that in a minute. Now, however, this means the Scorp has a two-handed grip, which you will immediately appreciate as being more stable and comfortable with less strain on your working arm. That's vertical mode. Now, the second grip, horizontal mode, is useful for low-angle shooting, and it has a few interesting tricks, like auto-rotate, where the camera spins around, and portrait mode. Now, a quick start guide is included with helpful, if terse, instructions, and FeiyuTech also has a bunch of tutorials on YouTube. They are more helpful, and I'll skip quickly through what you'll see in detail in those videos. But note that if you're looking for more detailed information about the controls on the unit, the settings available in the firmware, or the capabilities of some of the features, you're on your own. There is no downloadable PDF manual, and that makes the learning curve a little steeper, and I'm always left with the feeling that I'm missing something. 2 Arca quick release plates are provided to mount the camera. Now, for this small 700-gram Sony camera, I used the smaller one to space the camera up from the larger plate, mostly so that the lens doesn't chafe on the plate. The larger plate has a notch in front, and the included support arm for larger lenses goes here if required. And the rise of the second plate also provided enough clearance to open the door to change SD cards without removing the camera. That's a substantial time saver. A small hex key is provided to tighten the screws. Of course, a quarter also works. However, I much prefer plates with an integrated handle for tightening. But don't throw the hex key away, because if you're using both plates, it can reach the camera screw through the second plate to remove both plates at once. Now, clearly, this key is going to get lost. Why isn't there a small clamp inside the underside of the plate to hold the key in place? The locks mean the camera isn't immediately flopping all over the place as you start to balance. I approve. Now, for gimbal newbies, this up and down movement is tilt. Back and forth is pan, and then this is roll. A tilt is one of 5 positions you'll be adjusting to balance, and for those familiar with balancing, the Scorp has several improvements. It's still far from ideal. First, move the camera sideways on the tilt axis, and this lever locks that in place. Not sure why this one is a lever. The other 4 are all screw locks. You adjust them with the power off until the camera is balanced and stays balanced even when it's moved. Novices can expect to spend a few hours watching tutorial videos and adjusting each several times, as there is significant interplay and the adjustments can be very, very small. I'm pretty sure we're not far away from a self-centering and stabilizing gimbal, but until that day, I'd certainly appreciate it if these adjustments were made to a slider that had a gear rail and a screw for the micro adjustments needed to perfect the position. Now, when you're satisfied that the camera is balanced, move the memory sliders inside the arms into position. The red circle indicates the balance point for this camera and lens combination to quickly rebalance after it's been stored. Now, while it's fairly easy to see if it's balanced, many gimbals have a balancing check feature in their app, and you run it to confirm that you've got the balance right. FeiyuTech's app doesn't have that feature. Anyway, when you're satisfied with your balance and with all the locks off, hold the power button to turn the gimbal on. Now, there are 4 buttons on the touch LCD control panel. The motor power button includes an auto-tune setup that takes a few seconds, and when it's done, slide right for gimbal settings, then horizontal calibration. And if auto isn't level, there's a manual adjustment. Bottom left sets the follow mode. Now, as indicated in the images, PF follows only the pan axis, left and right. Tilting the handle doesn't tilt the camera. PTF also follows up and down. When I tilt the handle back, the camera also tilts up. And then double tap the front trigger to return the camera to center. Those are the basics. And here's what that looks like in PTF mode. It damps my walking movements, and it's nicely steady walking backwards, forwards, or alongside. Footage recorded while running is better than I expected. As with all gimbals, you'll need to give it some assistance by moving a little more slowly and carefully, and by slightly anticipating turns. Take some time to familiarize yourself before the important shoot. Now, when you need to pan or tilt independently of the movement of the gimbal, use the 4-way joystick. Now, I generally prefer to shoot in pan-only mode, using the joystick to control the tilt. The camera will pan 360 degrees and tilt down about 45, up a little over 90. A gentle touch on the joystick makes the move a little less abrupt. The key labeled M changes the follow mode with a combination of single, double, and triple presses. A triple press on the trigger pans 180 degrees, usually goes clockwise, but sometimes counter. Press and hold the trigger to momentarily switch to pan-tilt mode. In addition to the joystick, the big front dial can also pan and tilt. The on-screen control panel, swipe up, changes the movement axis. Here you have pan, tilt, and roll. Now this key should also switch between those settings, and while the screen indicated the change, Gimbal locks up when it's used, requiring a reboot. And other modes include lock, where the camera does not move in any direction, and flash follow, for objects moving quickly. Now the Scorp often vibrates at high and low frequencies with both high and low intensities. It seems to be a known issue as it's addressed in one of the tutorial videos. Sometimes auto-tune resolves it. Using the lens support may also help. And sometimes just holding the device calms it. And those problems seemed worse when I used the 1600-gram Fujifilm X-H1 kit. Now there is a free app with many of the same controls and features you find on the unit, but with alternate terminology. In the app, motor auto-tune is called auto-adaptive. For horizontal calibration, use the auto-adjust button. And the app promises auto-onect, which I found unreliable. There's a virtual pan and tilt controller, and the app provides more options for the trigger button, and joystick speed settings. Now, and More Settings does not have more settings, for instance, to assign the F1, F2, or A and B buttons, but does provide the firmware status and update when available. The user manual available in the app is in Chinese. No option to switch to English. Quick Guide includes the tutorials that are also available on YouTube, and you'll also find them on the Skill tab. Rotate and Portrait mode are accessed from the app using the Play More button. On the Gimbal's control screen, they're called scenarios. Consistency, please. And there's also Track Video, with up to 10 waypoints and a smoothness setting. Although interesting, the general lack of adjustment for settings like duration between waypoints limit its usefulness. Now, the A and B keys on the handle's right side set memory points. I was told long press to save, short press to return. I wasn't able to make that work reliably. And FeiyuTech provides connecting cables for several camera makes and models. There's a list indicating which features are available on which models. And for most models, that means the red button on the gimbal can focus, take photos, and start recording video. Electronic zoom is supported on many Sony models. When the camera is connected, the camera icon appears between the battery and Bluetooth icons. However, that doesn't mean the camera will also appear in the app. There are models that enable exposure controls from the swipe right screen. Some Canon and Panasonic models support follow focus using the large dial. And for those that don't, FeiyuTech sells an optional follow focus accessory. I assume it appears in the No Device gray box in the app. And for supported models, the connection enables the panorama features. There's a 3x3 or 180-degree horizon pan, but you can also customize the settings. I was able to make that work on the Sony a6300, but you'll need a photo editing app to assemble the final image. The Usbc charging port is under the multifunction dial, and there are two Usbc ports on the front side for the follow focus controller and an image transfer port on the back. According to FeiyuTech, that has not yet been implemented. The charging status appears on the screen. Now, from my experience, a charge won't last for a full day of shooting, but if you charge during meal breaks, you should easily get through 4 to 5 hours. And my summary here is that the Scorp acquits itself on the basics well, but most of the advanced features are not quite ready for production use. Now, it's easier to balance than most, and I found both the built-in stand as well as the horizontal handle very useful. FeiyuTech provided a link in the description, but at the moment I cannot actually find this device on the internet. I'm in Canada, and going to FeiyuTech.com redirects me to FeiyuTech.ca, the Canadian site where the Scorp is not currently available. And it's not for sale at B&H, Amazon Canada, or US. If you're interested, maybe you'll have more luck with their website. As my hashtag says, I'm not sponsored. I don't do paid posts. There are no interruptions while you're watching my videos. And that decision has a financial impact. So I'm very grateful to those of you who've decided to support this channel by becoming a member, although I think of you as my sponsors. And if membership is for you, please use the join button below. But subscribers need not worry. No content will be behind a paywall, and I do read and reply to all civil comments and relevant questions. And thanks for watching. Stay safe.